Oh.
You want to hear our song for you?
Show
Yes,
up,
I do.
Show up, society, undeniably.
Amazing. Okay.
Welcome to What the Body.
Welcome. So happy to have Tammy today.
We have Tammy. Tammy is somebody I have been following for 2 years. I was on your podcast, the Show Up Society. That was, oh my gosh, that was almost 3 years ago. That had to have been almost 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. You are based in Oregon
Yes.
and life coach, manifestator, just show up for people, be your authentic, dope self. So tell us about you.
Yeah. So I'm like a lot of commas or multi
Mm.
hyphenate, but I like commas better than hyphens. So I
Yes.
am a certified life coach. I am a writer. I'm a teacher. I'm a podcast host. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a dancer.
Love it.
Awkward, a lot of things. Yeah.
Dot,
So are we.
awkward.
Yeah, for
Period.
sure.
That's us
Same.
for sure. Yeah. So talk to us about all of those different entities. So like they all sort of come together, but they're all so different. And the way you integrate them is so incredible. And I think the thing that sticks out the most for me about you is how authentic each one of those commas is.
hmm
I think that's super duper important. So talk to us about how you kind of integrate that into your everyday life.
Yeah, it's really funny because when I first started, I've owned my own businesses forever.
Yeah.
Lots of different ones, but every time I felt like I had to compartmentalize.
Mm.
And so I was a running coach, but I was also an artist, and I felt like I had to have different websites or different Instagrams for each of those. And I think it took me a lot of years until I realized, wait, like I'm a whole person. I'm not just like lots of little boxes that are
Mhm.
like
Oh, I
not
love
even
that.
connected. And so my motto actually for 2022 was to show up as more me, more often to more people. And
Mm,
by more me, I meant just letting all the different parts of me show. And
Right.
so I don't have to have a different Instagram for my writing or for my art or for my silly dances. I can have them all in one because I am a complete person.
yes.
I have disco balls in my background, but I like to think of myself as a disco ball that I'm rotating. And sometimes some parts are lit up and some parts you don't see as much. Like there's different
Yeah.
facets of me and I show them all. I rotate, but sometimes you're only seeing part of them at a time. So sometimes you might only know me as a podcast host or as a running coach, but I am all of those things at the same time. You're just only seeing a little part of them at that moment.
Oh, I love that.
I can relate to that. That's something that Caitlin has really helped me work through because I just felt like I had to keep everything separate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, separate, my life is separate, my personal life is separate than my work, then my hickey, then my,
Mhm.
podcast, then my all these things. And Caitlin's like, no, you're a human. And now here we are in my house in our podcast studio
Mhm.
talking about hickey on our podcast and having all these guests. Is it that you become authentically accepting of all of those things morphing together that you show up even stronger, brighter, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I know for me, starting early on, the people that I followed, the people I really, really, really enjoyed spending time around and following and all of the things, it was like there was no real line. Like it wasn't sell, sell, sell. Here's my product. It was like, I'm a whole human
Mm,
and I do this.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. And I think you do that better than most.
I'd
Like,
love to hear more about your podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. So I named it the Show Up Society podcast because I wanted to show up as me, but that kind of evolved actually. It actually started as I wanted to help people show up for themselves. And then I realized, but wait a minute, if I'm going to be asking all y'all to show up as yourselves, I sure as hell have to be doing it first. And so,
Mhm.
um,
Was it hard for you?
yes, because I was the oldest child of a really turbulent, abusive childhood. And so I learned how to just kind of fit in quietly so I didn't disrupt the abusiveness and
Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't cause the chaos. And so I really learned how to like morph and chameleon myself into like whoever I was around to just like kind of keep the peace. And so, yeah, it was really hard for me to show up just as fully me. I showed up as parts, but
As
not
parts.
all the parts at all the time, right? But
Right.
the more and more I did this podcast, the more I had this voice. And it was actually kind of like a safe space, right? Because I'm just putting this voice out there and people can listen or not listen. And
Right.
I
Right.
don't know, for some reason, it just felt like a safe entry into like
Mm.
showing lots of parts of me.
Yeah.
And as I realized it was safe, then I just showed more and more and more of me.
I can relate to this hardcore.
I very much think that's going to be you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that all unfold.
Me
How do
too.
you encourage people to show up? So like me, like I'm not there yet. I'm not where you are. We
Okay.
recorded an episode where Caitlin was asking me questions, and I was a completely different person. I was like, and
Yeah.
like, I'm like giving, I didn't even, wasn't even honest with some of the answers, and not that I was lying, but it was almost like that wasn't the real answer. It actually was. There was a deeper meaning.
She was definitely keeping stuff close to the cuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is going to be a hard hitting question. And she's like,
Like, what would you tell
yeah.
your younger self? I'm like, I wouldn't run. That's what
Yeah,
I would
that-
tell
Right.
me.
That was
And I'm
her
like,
answer.
what?
Yeah, your knees are going to be bad. I wouldn't run. And I was
Yeah.
like, not what I was looking
And
for.
it was
Let's
just,
get gritty, girl.
that's right. And it was just automatic though. It wasn't intentional. Like, I'm going to say this. It just, that's what came out. And that was the robot in me. And again, I
Mhm.
come from trauma and all of this stuff too. So I'd love to hear how you encourage people to show up.
Yeah, I think the thing, the answer kind of changes as I evolve and all the things. But right now, my answer is that you have to just vehemently promise that you're going to love the shit out of yourself no matter what. Because I think if you know you have this like lovely landing pad that no matter what happens, no matter what you say out loud or what people think of you, that you're going to love the shit out of yourself at the end of the day. And then it feels so much safer because you're like, I don't care what all the haters say. I'm going to show up as me and I'm going to love myself so hard after it, no matter what. And I think for me, that's created safety. It makes me almost cry, right?
It makes me want to cry. Did you see both of us?
Yeah.
We're like,
oh my God. Because I
fucking
do,
love you
but it's
so
really
much.
hard. This is hard.
I know, friend.
Yeah.
But you're doing it.
That's a great fucking answer.
And you're doing it scared. Tammy, that was
Yeah,
so
you can do
good.
it scared. You don't have to wait for you to feel like, oh, this is going to be so easy. No, because
No.
if it is so easy, it's probably not. You're just staying so safe that you're not like growing and expanding.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'll say too that's helped me is there are 8 billion people in this world.
Mm.
There are going to be some that don't like you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move
Yep.
on. Fuck
Yep.
them, right? So am I allowed to curse on here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm like,
but we both cuss like sailors. No, fuck them.
I'm like, wait a minute. But right. So I think it almost just like brought me to this peaceful place where I'm like, there's nothing in the world that 8 billion people all agree on. It just doesn't exist. So they're sure as hell not all going to love me or love all the things I'm doing. There's definitely some people that are going to be turned off by me, hate me, want to leave me mean comments. And I'm cool with that because I'm over here focusing on the people that love me because I'm one of the people who love me and I'm going to hang out with those people.
Right.
God dang it. I
Yeah.
was not prepared for that fire, but
Let me get an amen.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was good.
Whoa.
Because
that is so good.
Kayla and I've been both sort of like meditating and manifesting and focusing on abundance, right? Because that's kind of what's next. We both have successful businesses and it's like, okay, we're coming into this podcast and we're ready for more. We want, because we really want to create this space again, similar to you, where people show up, where they feel like they can take up space, where they embrace who they are, where they love. And I think I can't do that fully for my audience unless I'm fully doing it for myself. You know?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's great.
That is why
we can't even recover. Are we okay?
We are. You make me feel that way all the time. And I followed you since I was on your podcast. So like, I feel that through your messaging all the way down to, I want you to talk about your dance series.
That's where I was going to go.
I have been telling her about this dance series. I'm like, the outfits and the joy that just emanated through the screen.
It just makes me smile just from looking at it.
We've talked about it like 4 times. I'm like, this is the dancing lady. And she just shows up and is like authentically herself. And it like allows people just to stand in their power. Talk to us about why you started that and what you learned through that process.
And how you got there.
And a backstory, because maybe people don't follow you.
Right.
A little backstory on it.
Okay. It's one of the coolest, like most of like, I don't even know the right word. Like it just moved me in such a big way. So backstory, I don't really know the backstory, but I am in perimenopause and my body is doing all kinds of wacky things and my body shape and size has changed what I think is pretty dramatically for me. And because we grow up in this amazing society and culture that teaches us that bodies should be one shape and size, I was having some thoughts. And I didn't really want to show up, which is my whole thing, my whole, like what I do. And so I felt really sad and lonely for me to be in this place where I didn't really want to show my body. I wasn't having fun moving my body and exercising because I looked different. My clothes fit different. None of my workout clothes fit. My bones were hurting. My body was hurting a little bit. And I just didn't feel much joy. And
Yeah.
so I like to kind of set goals with how do I want to feel? And I wanted to feel joyous. I wanted to feel like light and airy and having fun in my body. And I thought, well, I know one way how to do that, and that's dance, because I
Mm,
dance all the time in my house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but can I dare to dance and show it to the world?
mm,
Because
Am I
that's
allowed?
kind of the
Yeah.
ultimate, right?
Yeah.
And it was terrifying.
yeah.
Mm.
And I think if you watch the series, you can see at the beginning, I'm a little stiff. I don't have that much fun outfits. And I'm just kind of like, like just, kind
Like
of
you've
like
done the
Little,
white
stretches.
man in a
little
dance.
shoulder shake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
oh,
but it turned into this thing where I just felt so safe, so alive. People didn't give a shit what my body looked like. And the thing that was really cool is in that it was like, I think I only showed like 10 to 30 seconds each time, but I would dance for a minute or two and just like cut some of the film. But in that time when I was dancing, not once did I think about what my body looked like. I
yeah.
wasn't outside of me looking in. I was just inside in the joy, just like I'm fucking having a blast moving around and listening to the music, feeling the music.
Mm,
And
Oh,
so
I love
that
that.
just taught me so much too, where it's not about how we look on the outside. It's just about how we're moving and experiencing this thing called life. And it was
Right.
just so, so cool. I connected with so many people who were moved by it, by the joy
Yeah.
of it, by the freedom of it, by
yep.
the vulnerability of it. Cause there were some, I wore some unitards and some gold shorts and stuff that
Those
didn't,
were my favorite.
yeah, they
Absolutely.
were amazing.
That was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cherry on top for me. I'm like, you absolutely rocked a pair of gold shorts over a unitard.
Over a unitard.
This is
Yeah.
my human right here.
I
Yeah.
think I should put on a unitard after this.
I
You
think so.
should. It
Okay.
kind of changes like how you walk around the day. I've worn them around the house since, and they're so fun. I kind of
They
want to
are.
start a movement where we
They
just wear
are.
unitards all over the
Oh my
place.
God. I love
Yeah.
Universal Standard has a really good unitard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Savage Fenty also does. The Savage Fenty one's a little bit racier, but those are the two that I rock between is the Universal Standard and the Savage
Okay.
Fenty.
All right.
But yes, the unitard will
Love
change your
it.
game.
Yeah. So after COVID, I was like, nothing in my life but joy. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
I got through that. Okay, I'm alive, but now I'm going to heal through the trauma of all that into so much joy. And
Yeah.
it's all I've done. And I like, there's some people, my friends are different. My house is different. My
We're
work is different.
different.
My
Yeah.
life is different. And it's just always choose joy. And I love this.
Yeah.
And here we
You can't
sit
go wrong.
choosing joy,
Yeah.
talking to dope ass people about how to choose joy.
Yeah. Tell me about the I might get this a little bit wrong, but you wore
It's
a
okay.
skin colored outfit and wrote all of the negative
Mm,
things people said about you.
yeah.
That what
So I
what
wrote
was
negative and positive. I wrote
okay.
words that are just commonly used to describe women's bodies.
Mm.
I see.
And I wrote them all over this skin colored suit. And then I had my husband drive me to the woods and I just like walked through the woods with him filming me. And I just cried afterwards. Like I kind of cry now thinking about it
Yeah.
because it was so
Mm.
empowering and fun and like a little embarrassing because I passed some people and they were like, what is going on? Right. And I have two
And he's
teenage
like, "Don't worry, it's
daughters
my
and
wife." Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. He was like, we're good. We're good.
Not
Um,
escaped asylum people
right, right.
want to be here.
I'm totally
It's all
fine.
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, and even just the act of writing the words on the
Yeah.
bodysuit was really, it's kind of crazy to think about like how women's bodies are described
Yes.
by other people.
Yeah.
And some of the words were harsh and some were beautiful and
Yeah.
kind of all the words in between, but it was even just writing the words was really impactful.
Do you think it opened up something in you to just give yourself permission to have grace with your body and know that the words they're just exterior, they just bounce off your skin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was because it felt a little like fuck you-ish when I was like
Yeah.
walking
Yes.
proudly, like barefoot in the woods with this bodysuit. And there's words on there like, I mean, I don't even know, fat, obese, like scrawny, wimpy, like all of these
Yeah.
words that different people might be called. And it was just like, yeah, you want to call me that? Okay, cool. Cause I'm going to keep walking through the woods in my, my skin
Yeah.
color bodysuit. And I don't really give
Yeah.
a shit about you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
I love that so
Yeah,
much. I think that's so important too, because words don't mean anything until we give them power.
exactly.
And we have been taught to give them power because we're taught to be oppressed, right? Like we're taught to be held down. We're taught that we need to make ourselves smaller, more obedient. We need to fit the role that society tells us. And we're never once taught growing up that you can choose which ones give weight. the ones that you give weight to.
And not only that, but you have to keep in mind, like, if you know anything about Psychology 101, if someone is calling you those names, they are projecting their own shit onto you, and it is not yours to carry.
It's not yours to pick
Yeah.
up. It's not yours to carry.
No.
It's not yours to hold on to.
That's their trauma.
Yeah.
I got my own.
We did a big energetic, like cutting. I see a woman who does like healing, energy healing manifestation. I'm not really sure what you would call Nancy, but we did like a cutting, a visual representation of like cutting the ties of the words that mean the most from the people that mean the most, right? So like always looking for validation from your loved ones or your spouse or your aunt or whoever is the most important to you, and allowing that to no longer be a pathway directly to your brain, and just visually watching them snap and go, I no longer give those weight.
Yeah.
If you don't like that my belly button, you can see through my dress, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't carry any weight for me anymore. And I think that's such a great representation. What you did is such a great representation of like visually cutting that and going, these don't mean anything. They're just exterior.
That's a lot of the work I do with my clients. Actually, we don't do the visual cutting, but so much of my work is working with people and how they're interpreting what people say.
Yeah.
And our brains love to make it mean something bad about us, but I just help teach them to reframe it so that it's like, actually, this has nothing to do with you at all. This is all about them and what's going on with them.
I love that.
But we absolutely can choose how to interpret and how to feel about what people say to us. That's 100% in our power.
It is, even though it feels like your anxiety feels so physical and like you're getting that, like, you know, cortisol surge, and you can feel it in your body when you're stressing about either what they said to you or how they're reacting or whatever it is. But it's literally theirs, and you can calm yourself down from that. It is literally
100%.
You say, thank you very much. You are not welcome here. Anxiety, you can leave. And if you can just ground yourself and like, you can leave, then it will go away. You have control over. I never say I have anxiety. I say I feel anxiety. I try to change the way I even say the phrase because I am not my anxiety. It is something that shows up. It is a feeling.
Yeah.
But I'm in control of whether it stays.
Yeah. I love that.
Totally.
I love that. Is there an activity that you do with your clients that helps them get to that point where like they're the ground floor of like, this is kind of the foundation of how we kind of redirect that in our brain?
Yeah. So I use something that one of my mentors came up with called the awareness model. And we just take like what the person said. So let's just take, for example, Sarah said, "Are you wearing that?" So our brains will interpret a certain way based on our upbringing, our culture, our traumas, our jubilations, all the things that make us us.
Yeah.
Each of our brains is going to interpret that comment in a different way. Some people might be really pissed. Like, she said, am I wearing that? Right. And she's like questioning what I'm wearing. She thinks I'm ugly. She thinks this is not dressy enough. Right. Other people would be like, hell yeah, I'm wearing this. What are you wearing? And like not even ever like be affected at all. So we look at, what did the person say? What does your brain make it mean? And how did that make you feel? Because I believe that your emotions come from what you're telling yourself in your head.
Yes.
Right.
And then how did you act when you felt that way? Did you get defensive? Did you go change clothes? Did you like put on extra sparkles because you love your outfit so much? Like, how did you act? And then what result did that give you? And then if you don't like the result that you have, then you get to go in and go, okay, well, I'm going to think something different. I'm going to choose how to interpret what Sarah said to me about, are you wearing that? I'm going to choose to think that she's just curious and wants to know what she should wear. That's why she was asking me that. So we write it on this whiteboard I have right behind me, and we just go through and we're like, how is your brain making it, interpreting this? And do you want to interpret a different way? Because you get to choose how to interpret what anybody says to you.
I love that.
You get to choose.
Yeah.
And even if you're wrong, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Because
who says you're wrong? Right. Like,
that's it.
That's it.
Even if Sarah meant something else, when Sarah sees you show up with additional sparkles, she's going to feel sparkly too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
Or she'll feel sad. Yeah.
You have a QuickBook on your website that you can download and do some version of this activity of like writing it down and looking at it visually. And I think that is a great place for people to start, because you're putting it out in the universe. It's, you can subscribe to your mailer. And like, I think that's great that it's out there, that you can write it down. And I call it doom scrolling, like doomsday. Let's doomsday it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the best thing that can happen? And we were looking through your QuickBook, and I was just like, is it a QuickBook? What do you call it? Not a QuickBook, like a pamphlet.
I just called it like a workbook. Yeah.
Like a workbook. I do this with my clients all the time. Like, you put the lingerie on, what's the worst that happens? Okay, we try something else on.
Exactly.
Like,
But here's the thing, a lot of us, I've realized, are actually more scared of what's the best that could happen, because a lot of us aren't prepared for the
Yes.
good things to happen.
Yeah.
mhm,
So you're like, okay, then I don't know how to like make it into an example with yours really quickly, but like I work with a lot of creative artists, and
mhm.
I'll say, okay, what's the best case scenario if you put this out and you send this email saying these products are ready for you to buy? Maybe the best case scenario is that they buy like, well, 2,000 of them and you only have 1,500 in stock.
Mm,
So
Mm,
then you're like, oh shit, I don't have enough to fill this order. Now
right.
I'm going to upset these buyers. Now it's going to be delayed. So the actual best outcome can be something that you're scared of. Or
Ooh,
sometimes, like in your case, yeah. So let's say you put on the lingerie and it fits and you look hot as hell and you haven't been identifying with someone who looks hot as hell in lingerie. And you're like, oh, whoa, this doesn't feel like
yeah,
you're haven't caught up to that. Your self-image hasn't caught up to the reality yet. And
absolutely.
so it feels so scary and so foreign that you're not ready
mm,
to accept that best case. So
Yeah,
that's why I like to look at both. Can you handle the worst case scenario? And can you handle the best? And if you can't handle both, if you're ready to handle both, you're good to go.
yeah.
I
I
can
love
handle
that.
the worst. It's the best I can't.
Well, and I
Not can't.
resonate
I
I
said I'm
resonate
working.
really well with like the Brene Brown impending doom, like waiting for the other shoe to drop, and like how it
Hmm.
affects your joy in the immediate, because this story, the narrative that you tell yourself, like you're so happy and then something bad happens and so happy, and it's like that's just life. Like
Yeah.
it's not you just got to stop thinking about it as like impending doom and just be in the joy. And I think that's really hard. It's hard. It was
It's
hard for
hard.
me. It's hard to like look at my life and go, this is the best case scenario and I'm so excited and ready for it. I'm like, why me? I'm not deserving of this. I'm just Joe Schmo,
That's the
right?
ego.
Hmm.
That's the ego and that's all the weird stuff that gets in the way. And in reality, it's just like such a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
We sometimes forget to think about it
And
that
everybody
way.
has a different false negative belief, right?
Mm,
Everybody has a different belief about themselves that it was ingrained in us. Like, you're not good enough. That's
yeah.
fine. Like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. And so it just every time you got to get over that hurdle every single time. And everybody's got different tools, but these sound like really good ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna workbook the hell out of it.
Yeah. I
This is
mean,
awesome.
we downloaded and printed it, so we're
Yeah.
work breaking the hell
Yeah.
out of it.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that you brought up the other shoe dropping too, because I have a whole podcast episode on this. Because when I grew up with trauma, when there were good days, you're like, oh, fuck, shit's
Yes.
about
Oh,
to get
100%.
real bad around here.
Yep.
So actually, I hated the good days because I was so worried about like, this is not going to last very
right.
long. And because of all this work that I've done, I specifically remember this moment driving from Eugene to Portland, Oregon, and the sun was setting and there was grass and I think there was like a few sheep. And I was like, holy shit, like I'm fully experiencing this joy right now. And I am not even going into the like, what if we crash and die on the way home, which is how I
Right.
usually would have thought of it.
Yeah.
Like, this is so
Right.
pretty, but we're about to die. Right. But this is like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am fully experiencing this joy. And a lot of that has to do with building that self trust and
Oh,
building that, like, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. I'm going to
Yeah.
figure this shit out. I'm going to love myself. It's all going to be okay. And just developing that self trust that you can handle anything that gets thrown at you, that can bring that safety to experience the full joy.
Oof. It's why I always say you're not gonna die.
I
Like,
know. Like,
you're not gonna die. It's
yeah.
fine.
And if we do,
Nobody's gonna
do.
die.
Like,
If you do, you're not going to be worried about it. You're going to be dead. It's all
right.
good.
I was watching, I don't know if you guys watch Yellowstone at all,
No.
but my dad died super unexpectedly and he was young.
Mhm.
He was 56. And there was an episode where an infant had died. And the main character was talking about how the only people that know somebody lived or died prematurely are the people that are left. We're the only people
Hmm.
that know that it was cut short.
Hmm.
And you're not, I mean, everybody has different beliefs, but like the person who dies, you just die. Like that's just okay. It is next,
Yeah.
right? Like, and then it falls on the people that are left behind to mourn the early loss of something or someone. And so
Yep.
it's just like, why is our greatest fear death? Like, why?
Right.
Okay, we're all
We'll
there.
be fine.
We're going
We're
there,
dead.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's not like I don't know. It was such like a pivotal moment for me. We had to
Hmm.
stop the show because I was sobbing so hard. I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, I was not, it never calculated to me that he didn't know that he left early.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It was just like such a beautiful moment of, okay, I'm going to live life like it's my last day because it might be, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to take up space. We're going to love our bodies. We're going to create a community of people that can feel seen and embraced for who they are.
Yeah.
We're not fucking around anymore.
Yeah.
We're
We
not,
want joy.
we're craving joy. So we're going to create joy. And that's why we're
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Every day, that's why we show up. I think that's why you show up too. I think that's why you
Hell
resonate
yeah.
so well with me. Like that was, I just, you speak to my soul in that regard because you do show up with joy every day. It's beautiful.
What is your favorite part of what you do?
Mhm.
Oh my God. I know my answer for sure. It is that moment when my client does more than they thought they were capable of. And there's like this, just like this look that comes across their face. And I'm like, holy shit, I did that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it brings me chills. It brings me to tears every single time, every single
Wow.
time. Because I think every single one of us is capable of more than we think we are. We
Yes.
just have to keep reminding ourselves, like, can we do a little more? Like, what would it look like if we tried this other thing? And you
Mhm.
just like keep reaching these bigger levels of possibility for yourself.
Do you have a moment that happened for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, it's funny how I'm like less apt to see it in myself than I am in others,
We hear
That's
you.
right?
normal.
I think when I had my first, I did a group session last year for talking about goals and how to look at them completely different than I've ever seen them taught.
Yeah.
And just that month of seeing how I just felt and how I interacted, how I created this space of humans that just love the shit out of each other. I think I was like, oh yeah, this is the shit. Like I am doing the thing that I've always wanted to do. And I feel like this may sound cheesy, but I feel like I was born to do this.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
I was like, I have arrived. This is
Yes.
where I'm supposed to be doing my thing.
It's where
uh,
you're supposed to receive abundance.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Abundance it's not a new word for me, but it's a new opportunity to actually obtain.
mhm.
Hmm.
You have to invite
You do.
abundance into your
Yes.
world. You have to build the nest. You have to
Yeah.
ask the universe for
Yes.
it. You have to pursue every day with the mindset of abundance, which stems from joy. You can't do
And
it in a state of desperation and
No.
sadness.
right. And I'll tell you the biggest thing that has helped me with abundance in my life, and this is what I work with clients too, is you have to start by seeing all the shit that you already have because you have so much
Mhm.
already. And I'm not just talking about like a simple gratitude. I'm talking about looking around at your number of clients or your number of sales or your number of whatever it is that your kind of goal is, and really, really seeing all of those and taking it
Yes.
deeper. How did you create those? How
Mhm.
did you put those into your life? And because when you can connect all the dots back to the thing that you have and how you created it, then you're like, it teaches your brain that you're capable of doing more and creating more, but you have to start seeing what you have already. So like I'll work with some artist clients and they'll go to a show and they'll sell 10 pieces of art.
Yeah.
And they'll come to me and they're like, oh, it wasn't a good show. I only sold 10 pieces. And I'm like, whoa, baby, let's back up.
Hold up.
You
Rewind.
gotta start seeing I created 10 people in the world that wanted to buy my art. I
Mhm.
created that with my art by putting myself out there, by talking to the people, all the things. Because if you can acknowledge that what you did, then sure as hell you can go sell 20 more pieces of art.
Right. Yes.
You're saying like, oh, this was a shitty show. The universe is like, fuck you. We gave you
Yeah.
10 sales. You're
Yeah.
not grateful. You're not appreciating. You're not seeing what you created. You're not getting anymore.
Right. I just had this conversation with Nancy and I was like, Nancy friend, I'm fine. I'm good.
Right.
Like I love my house. I love my job. I love my life. I'm single with no kids with a dog. I'm happy. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to do this podcast and I want more. And that's okay too. Like if everything stops right now, I'm good and happy and fine and joyful.
Yep.
And yes, that's great. I got myself to here though from pulling myself out of gutter after gutter after gutter. And guess what? I
Yeah.
want more. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
deserve more. I can have more. And thank you for all of this as well. I
Right.
just said that to her last weekend.
Fuck, I gotta do
It's so
that.
powerful. It's all about the
Yes.
and. I love what I
Yes.
have and I want a little more.
And I deserve it. I
Yeah.
can have it.
Yeah.
Do you do
Yeah.
like improv at all in the yes and method? Have you ever taken
No.
an improv class?
Well, I
Okay.
did take one improv class. Yeah.
So improv is all about yes and.
Hmm.
You can't
Mm-hmm.
ever
Mm-hmm.
yes but anything
Right.
because it nullifies the yes.
Hmm.
So you're yes
Right.
anding the entire thing. And there's several. One of my shout out to Petra. One of my favorite people on the planet was my. I took a couple of classes, like a couple of different iterations of this class, and she was my teacher. And it was so much fun to watch the abundance that happens on stage when you
Mm-hmm.
yes and the shit out of it because somebody is giving you something. They're like, we're riding in a car and you have to go, yes, and the sky is blue. And they have to go,
Mhm.
yes, and we just hit a speed bump and the kids in the back hit the roof. And like, you're just, yes. And it builds this entire incredible story of yes, and. And when you take that and you put it into your life and you yes and your life, you now are building this beautiful story and narrative that you yes anded the shit out of. And it's not like you yes anded because you had to, you yes anded because that was what was given to you. Like the pandemic, for example. Okay, yes, and you handed me the pandemic. Let's pivot. Let's do a fundraiser for the women's club here or the women's
Mhm.
thing
Mhm.
here. Then that built a TikTok foundation for me, which like it's people call them pivots. I call them yes ands. And I just think it's so beautiful how that happens. And if you're not willing, you get stuck in this, yes, but, and the universe
Yes.
goes, you didn't
Mhm.
yes and this. I'm
Mhm.
not giving you anymore because you couldn't handle the yes and that I gave you. We're stopping right here. I don't
So
know. I
true.
just think it's fascinating.
What is some advice that you can give to people who aren't sort of to this level, honestly, and really struggle to not be able to see the positive opportunity from all the trauma and all the hardships?
Yeah. I think to start off by knowing that's okay, that's normal. Our brains love to look at the negative because,
Yeah.
back in primal times, if it showed you what was the flaw, if you weren't a fast runner, then you weren't going to be the one walking in the back of the pack when you're going, hunting because you're going to be the one that's eaten. So it's totally, first of all, just say, it's okay, brain. I see you. You're just a little scared. You're giving me the negatives and let it be okay. Don't be like extra mad at yourself that you're such a like negative thinker. That's first step.
Yeah.
And then second step, it's a practice. It is a practice that you have to be willing to do over and over and over. So like when I meet with my clients, we spend the first couple of minutes of them giving me a win. So something great in their life that they created. And when they first start working with me, they're like, I ain't got nothing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sit here till you come up with something because you do
Yeah.
have something. And I'm going to call your BS on it right now. You do have something that you've put good into your life. So let's just sit here and we'll wait for it to come out.
Yeah.
Good.
And it gets easier and easier and easier. And they literally over 6 months really truly train their brains to start seeing the good. It's just a practice.
It is.
And
Just
so
like
what I
anything.
have people do is do a did it list. So fuck these to-do lists.
Yeah.
Before you go to bed at night, write down something that you accomplished, something that you overcame, something that was scary that you did anyway, something that was uncomfortable. Write down something that you did because you'll start training your brain to see like, oh shit, I did something today.
Yo. Oh my God, I'm stealing
I
that.
hate to
It's
fucking
so
journal.
good.
I hate it, and
I
I'm gonna do that.
fucking hate to-do lists. I never feel accomplished. I never ever feel done.
Did it.
Whoa,
Did it.
Tammy. Oh,
It's
I
so
love you
good.
so freaking much.
It's
That is so good.
We should
It's
do
so
this
good.
honestly, like together too,
Yes.
because this podcast is hard. We've never
Hard.
done it before.
Wah, wah, wee, wah.
Caitlin's learning to edit. It's been, that sounds very simple when I say it. It's been challenging.
It's been messy.
And we need to understand how big all of this is, and we did it. And what did we
Yes.
do?
We look today,
Yes.
we have 1388 downloads, 1,388 downloads.
And it's been
Celebrate the shit out of them. Yeah.
It's been 5 weeks, but our number, the number that we both use for a lot is 1388.
Yeah.
And when we
Mm.
logged on today, because we've been kind of like mismatching, like our energies
Yeah.
haven't been vibing. And I pulled up our transistor today because we were changing some ad stuff. And I looked at her and I was like, we have 1388. And she looks back at me and I'm like, why is she giving me this face? She's like, that's our number. And I was like,
Because we got aligned
Mhm.
again
what?
today.
Because we're
Yeah.
back aligned today.
Yeah.
And it's just like such a cool
So
moment,
cool.
like of just kind of missing each other. And now we're back where we would need to be. But I think that will help a lot too.
I feel like she's like a spirit animal.
Our
like,
human.
Oh my God.
She's definitely our human.
Holy shit.
I'm
Okay.
telling you.
Oh, I love you.
I knew you were going to love her. I knew it.
Wow.
I know. I can just,
But I do think like after we get off this call, just
Yeah.
like chill with each other for a few minutes and just talk about the shit that you've done. You've had
Okay.
guests on, you figured out equipment, you figured out this cute little room where you're sitting with like a butt statue on the table. Think about like all the shit that you've done to put this into place and just revel in it. Like I imagine me being just like in the sunshine, just like taking it all in, just revel in the fact that you have created a fucking podcast from nothing.
literally.
Yeah. That people like.
That people actually
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just like we're not
We're
just
not
in
doing
here.
this for fun. I mean, it
Yeah.
is fun, but like people like it.
Yeah.
And we're like, really?
Every time. Are you sure? Did you actually listen to it?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, it's so awesome.
So funny.
So
Yeah.
when you work with clients, I know you have group classes, you do one-on-one, you have a podcast. Am I missing anything in there? What else do you do with clients?
Well, I like to give workshops and I speak at a lot of events. I like to do a lot of interactive I don't like to just get up and talk. I like to do a
Yeah.
lot of interactive.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for now. One-on-one group podcast and the summits, workshops, speaking engagements, those kind of things. I
Yeah.
just love being with the people. Give me all the ways.
Yeah. You build community beautifully.
Yeah.
I have
Some
to say, yeah.
all over the country, all over the world, I'm sure. And I think the way that you bring humans together is really kind of cool. I think it's probably because you put yourself out there
Yeah,
authentically.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
So what's next? What do you think the next area of focus or the almost like, are you going to hone into a certain place? What does the next year look like?
That's such a good question. I think what I want next is to build a community like membership where we're just together. Because right now, when I do groups, it's 1 month at a time.
Okay.
And then the most common thing that I get asked is like, but how can we stay connected to each other? They've built these really deep friendships, even just in a month's time. And so I just want to build this kind of year-long community where people have the space to just love on each other and love on themselves, and to have me in the room with them teaching and coaching. But it's just I'm going to do it, and probably by the end of this year. But I have too many ideas, and I'm just trying to like whittle it down a little bit because I want to give them all the things.
Yeah.
if you want to mastermind on that, I'm doing the exact same thing.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
if you want to
We'll
fail
talk.
forward with me on that, we can absolutely compare notes, because that is something I've had in the works for quite some
You've been
time.
talking about that for a long time.
If you need a partner to fail forward with, I'm more than happy to
Yes.
mastermind with you on that.
Yeah.
Because I think what you do have to offer is not just a 1 month thing.
Yeah. And same for you, friend. Yeah.
It's just you have so much bandwidth and so much incredible knowledge and comfort and inspiration, and it's not just a one-off. Like, people crave that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Crave that.
I thought I
yeah.
was the expert on all things.
Yeah.
And here we are with did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We
if
are
you-
all experts in all the things. We
Right.
just different flavors. Yeah.
That's
different
right.
flavors.
There we go.
I mean, a fish can't climb a tree and a bear can't really swim. So, I mean, it's like,
I don't know what that means, but I like it.
like out of
I
context.
thought bears could swim. I had no idea.
Can they?
So I don't know.
I thought they sank like rock. I thought they're built like brick shit houses. I thought they sank like a rock.
Polar
Maybe.
bears swim.
I've seen them lounging in pools before. I don't know. I'm going to do some research on that.
Yeah, I need to
I'm
know,
very-
because if a bear's chasing me, I got to know, like, am I
Should I
going in
just
the
jump in the
pool or
water?
what am I doing?
Oh. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, or even your past self, it doesn't have to be your inner child, but one piece of advice, what would it be?
Okay, the first thing that popped into my head was fuck them. And the reason is
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like, who gives a shit? Who
Nobody
gives a shit if they don't like what you're doing or like what you're wearing or they don't like what you said? Fuck them.
Yeah.
You're you, girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be
I
yourself.
don't mean, like, I don't want it to sound aggressive, but just
No.
like in a loving way. Fuck them.
Yeah.
You're all good, baby. You got it.
I love that so much.
Yeah. If you could describe yourself in one sentence.
Oof.
Well, I don't want to be buried, but like, if I had a gravestone, I would just want ballsy and hilarious written on it, because I just want that's what I want people to think of me as.
I was just gonna say, I think that would be your exact answer. I think that would be
Ballsy and hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I
done it.
strive to be.
Oh my God,
Oh
I
my
love that
God.
so much. Oh man.
I think we're coming up on her time.
I know. We got to wrap
Yes.
it up because you do have a hard stop. But when people want to work with you, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to kind of find you in this world?
Well, I have that freebie that maybe, the little workbook maybe they want to do at showupsociety.com is my website. And then I really love hanging out with people in my DMs on Instagram. And that's also Show Up Society. And from there, you can find the podcast and how to work with me one-on-one. But those are the two places to go, showupsociety.com or Show Up Society on Instagram.
Show Up Society. Undeniably.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got.
I love it.
Well, yeah. Oh, Tammy, you are one of my favorite humans on this planet. Your presence in my life has made major impacts, whether you know it or not. And
Also in the last 40 minutes on mine. Thank you.
Oh, I love you both. I love what you're doing. I'm so excited to see this grow and grow, and for you to keep having fun doing it. And I'm so lucky I got to be on the show.
Oh gosh,
Thank you
it's
for
our
coming.
honor.
Yeah.
Very much. If you have any questions for us, if you missed how to get in contact with Miss Tammy, you can always email us hello@whatthebody.com. And please make sure to subscribe. Go on to our social media, What the Body Pod on IG. Make sure you like us there. And if you want the uncut craziness behind the scenes, we are also on YouTube at What the Body.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for being a part of
Thank
it.
you,
We love
Tammy.
you so much.
Whoop, whoop.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay.